Clerk, call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Charlie Pryor from the Calvary Cathedral International Church. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Let us pray. Father, I pray for County Judge Whitley and our county commissioners. I pray that you give them favor, O God. I pray that you keep them strong in mind, body, and spirit. I pray that you give them wisdom and understanding of their times as they manage the affairs of Tarrant County. I pray for our county, God, that every financial and every other need is met, that Tarrant County is a prosperous county, a safe county, and a peaceful county. And I pray it in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brown, for coming out today.
Thank you, sir.
Manius,
Your Honor,
agenda announcements?
We do not have any announcements at this time.
Will you have any later?
Probably so. It's never mind.
Come on, boy. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of August the 30th.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have several proclamations today. The first is on national preparedness, and Melissa Patterson will receive this proclamation. I'll read it into the record. Whereas National Preparedness Month, an event founded after the tragedy of 9/11 to increase the preparedness in the U.S., creates an important opportunity for every resident of Tarrant County to prepare their homes, businesses, and communities for any type of emergency, including national disasters and potential terrorist attacks. And whereas investing in the preparedness of ourselves, our families, businesses, and communities can reduce fatalities and economic devastation in our communities and in our nation. And whereas Tarrant County is working closely with its planning and response partners, including municipalities, private organizations, volunteer agencies, community groups, and education providers to increase public activities in preparing for emergencies and to educate individuals on how to take action. And whereas emergency preparedness is the responsibility of every citizen of Tarrant County, and all citizens are urged to make preparedness a priority and work together as a team to ensure that individuals, families, and communities are prepared for disasters and emergencies of any type. And whereas all citizens of Tarrant County are encouraged to participate in citizens' preparedness activities to become prepared by taking 3 simple steps: get an emergency supply kit, make a plan for what to do in an emergency, and be informed by identifying sources of information in your community that will be helpful before, during, and after an emergency. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, hereby proclaim September 2011 as National Preparedness Month and encourages all citizens and businesses to develop their own emergency preparedness plan and work together toward creating a more prepared society. In witness whereof, we've heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 6th day of September 2011. I move its approval.
Second.
A motion is second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Good morning. Thank you for all you do. Let's see if she can get the camera working. Is that a new camera? No, you just got to turn it a different way. And it flashed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't have to stress the importance of being prepared after the headlines that we've seen in the last couple of days with the wildfires here in Texas. Unfortunately, we won't see any relief in the way of rain for the next week. We've been hoping for that, but it's not going to happen. We've seen about 1,000 homes across the state that have been destroyed, families that have been evacuated, families that have lost. So far, we have 2 lives that have been lost, a 20-year-old female with her infant child that got kind of surrounded by fire. We've got crews that are out of the county down in the Bastrop area that they're rotating through. And this morning, the fire service lets us know that they are fatigued. They're running low on men. We're bringing guys out from the other states. We've made an across-the-state line request for assistance. We've got birds and planes from all over the nation, the ones that are especially used to working with these types of fires. Unfortunately, we're competing for some of the resources with California. So if we could keep those people in our thoughts and prayers. I think that's where the preparedness piece comes in. In the proclamation, it says that we need to provide education, and that's the best way that we can help anyone. And I think here in Commissioner's Court in the last few years, we've spent a lot of time getting that education and that information, especially to you, the decision makers. I think in the last 5 years, we are in a much better place to know what decisions that need to be made, what risks we have to look for in the county, as well as the risk that we're looking for to assist outside of our county lines. Because we're not just Tarrant County anymore when it comes to preparedness. Our people come from all over the place to come in and work and shop and expect us to take care of them from day to day. So I brought a couple of things for you, 2 lessons and a gift. The first lesson is an incident command guide. It's especially for decision makers to know where we all fit in the decision-making process, but also to help you understand how we come to the suggestions that we come to bring to court for you guys to decide on. So keep that one handy. I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago we had to mandate some courses to keep our grant funds. That's coming down the line again. So William will be helping you guys out a whole bunch on that. The second lesson there is a first aid kit. It's called SNAP program. It's the Special Needs Assistance Program. And I know that this is a topic that's near and dear to all of your hearts here in Tarrant County. This program is not about the first aid kit so much as it is about the website on the front of it. It allows people with special needs, with disabilities, with small children with special needs, retirement centers can sign up for it. But basically, it's a service that allows them to sign up, get placed into a database, and their information to be placed in the CAD system within the cities that dispatch first responders, which is especially important during this wildfire season. But in this past summer, with over 100-degree days, we know we've seen a bunch of places that have lost power for their electricity. And that was one of the programs that we used to be able to locate where those people are. And then finally, the lapel pin that you see here. I think this is the best way and the highest goal that we've reached this last year to become prepared. We opened our Joint Emergency Operations Center. If you haven't had a chance to see it, I would say you'd be very proud of it. We spend a lot of time in there working with all 3 levels of government, and I say all 3, I actually mean all 4 now because we've had federal agencies come in as well. But just the chance for each of us to know each other, to know which agency we're with and not have to meet for the first time when we have to sit down and make life-saving decisions has been the best preparedness act that we've taken all year long. So thank you for your strong decisions this last year, and thank you for keeping Preparedness Month in your minds.
I would encourage you, if you have not had a chance to visit the Joint Operations Center, to do that. It is It is a great operation, and I think something that will be hopefully, well, we've already used it a couple of times. Hopefully it won't have to be used a lot, but certainly if the need arises, it is a great facility, and as was already mentioned, we have three, the state, the city, and the county are there around the clock, pretty much, and the federal government has been in also. Now, the federal government they don't actually have somebody on.
No, it's just for during activations. I think the best example of that was having the FBI in-house during the Super Bowl so that we could get those firsthand intelligence reports.
So, again, thank you very much. And, this is going to be a week of remembrances, and, hopefully we will really focus on, again, the teamwork and coming together in common goal, a united common goal, hopefully, as we go forward from here. Thank you. Thank you very much, Melissa. Next is our Stop and Remember Day, and I'm going to read this proclamation into the record. Whereas on September 11th, 2001, the peace and security of our nation was shattered by a cowardly terrorist attack that killed nearly 3,000 innocent and brave people at the World Trade Center towers in New York City, at the United States Pentagon, and in the pristine fields of Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And whereas although the terrorist's goal was to strike a powerful blow to the hearts of all Americans and tear at the fabric of our nation, arising from the very ashes of that tragedy came a remarkable spirit of unity, compassion, and determination that will never be forgotten. Just as we will never forget those who were lost and injured on that day, and those who rose in service during the rescue and recovery effort and in defense of our nation, both here at home and abroad. And whereas 10 years later, the people of the United States and people around the world continue to mourn the tremendous loss of innocent life on that fateful day, and thousands of men and women in the United States Armed Forces remain in harm's way, defending the United States against those who seek to threaten the United States. And whereas September 11th will never and should never be just another day in the hearts and minds of all people of the United States. And whereas the United States Senate has called upon all the people and institutions of the United States to observe a moment of remembrance or prayer on September 11th, 2011, to last for 1 minute beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time by and to a maximum extent practical, ceasing all work or other activity, and then marking the moment in an appropriate manner, included by ringing bells, blowing whistles, or sounding sirens. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioner Court of Tarrant County, in official recognition of this nationwide event, hereby proclaims September 11th, 2011 as Stop and Remember Day in Tarrant County. And further, we encourage all Tarrant County residents to mark this day at the designated time and in the appropriate manner. In witness whereof, we've heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 6th day of September 2011. I'll move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And again, we will. I would encourage everyone on Sunday at noon our time to take that minute and to stop and to remember those whose lives were lost that day and those who helped and continue to help defend this country.
Judge, may I ask the court clerks to reflect a second from each member of the court?
You bet. Next, we have a Tarrant County Credit Union commendation. Commissioner Brooks.
One of the things that makes us great as a nation is the institutions that we put in place to take care of the needs of our citizens. The Tarrant County Credit Union is such an institution that is vital not only to the financial well-being of Tarrant County employees, but does outstanding work supporting community projects throughout Tarrant County. We would like to recognize and commend the credit union this morning for all of their efforts. And Judge, if you would read the proclamation into the record.
Whereas the Tarrant County Credit Union has been an important part of our community since its founding in 1955 by a group of Tarrant County employees, and whereas TCCU has grown into an award-winning $62 million credit union serving over 9,500 members, and whereas TCCU is now in 5 county facilities and has changed its charter to include all Tarrant County residents, multiple select employee groups, and family members, and whereas Tarrant County Credit Union's mission is to provide members with the best possible financial and member services, and whereas Tarrant County Credit Union employees are committed to giving back to their community, believing that donating their time for the benefit of others makes them a better business partner, and whereas the Tarrant County Credit Union's commitment to community includes donating both time and finances to organizations such as Generation Hope Laptop Program, the YWCA of Fort Worth, the Junior Achievement Program, the Texas Youth Commission, the Texas AgriLife Extension Service, the Fatherhood Coalition of Tarrant County, and the Tarrant County Employee Summer Food Drive, along with engaging in fundraising efforts to support various financial literacy campaigns within the credit union industry and our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby commend Tarrant County Credit Union as a shining example of what can happen when private and public entities partner together to make a difference in the lives of people. In witness whereof, we've heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed the 6th day of September 2011.
Move approval.
Second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And we have here this morning Ms. Catherine Rotter from the Credit Union, who will accept this proclamation. It's just me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, first of all, Judge and Commissioners, thank you so much for recognizing us for the financial education that we do within our community. Especially right now with all the schools getting started back, this is a good time to really reflect and think about our children, things that they're learning, and some of the things that they're not learning, which we all know is financial education. They don't learn this in school. So Tarrant County Credit Union, one of our strong endeavors is to be sure to financially educate adults, children, in any way possible. So given many of the programs that you just mentioned that we volunteer in, we're also currently working on a couple of other groups to provide them with some financial education as well. The Boys and Girls Club is one of those that we're working with currently to put a program together. This Friday, the credit union is going to have a bake sale. And yes, many of the staff members will be baking. And we will, the funds that we raise from this bake sale on Friday, we're going to donate those proceeds to the Generation Hope program. So as you guys know, we have many bake sales throughout the year and donate that money to Children's Miracle Network or other organizations. But this Friday, with the beginning of school started, we wanted to recognize and raise funds for Generation Hope laptop program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. Catherine, do you bake?
Sometimes. Well, yes, I do. Okay, there's one thing I bake. I do make a mean chocolate triple cake.
You had me at chocolate.
Chocolate. I'll make you guys all one and bring it, okay?
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
I want to encourage each and every one of you to buy some baked goods on Friday. Generation Hope Laptop Program is a program that's very near and dear to my heart in that I started it. And it provides laptop computers to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade kids in 14 schools throughout Tarrant County. And a curriculum that goes with that that not only helps them improve their math and science scores, but teaches them financial literacy as well. So I thank the credit union for all of its support.
Next, Commissioner Fickus, I believe you have a,
Yes, we had a kind of a fun day Friday morning. We had a surprise 30-year anniversary party for Judge Pat Furchin, who has been serving as Tarrant County probate judge for 30 years. We had his staff did a great job of kind of keeping him in the dark, and they brought him in, and there was probably well over 100 people there. A lot of great stories were told, and so I think the judge was surprised and overwhelmed with the support that he's received all these years. I didn't realize, but he's got most of his staff's been with him for close to that length of time, or close to 30 years. But he runs a very efficient court, and a number of people were there to congratulate him. I would move to approve the congratulatory proclamation.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And now my favorite time of the month, it's the employee recognition. It's my opportunity to mispronounce many of y'all's names. But it is really our opportunity and our chance to thank you for the service that you have given to not only Tarrant County, but also, and more importantly, to the citizens of Tarrant County that you serve, and that you do such a great job, I think, of helping when they're at a time of need. The exercise is, I call your name, you stand up and remain standing until your particular group of employees are finished being recognized, and then we will congratulate that group. So we're going to start off with our 5-year employees. And the first one is Jonathan Boyce, Sheriff Confinement. David Crane, Sheriff Courtesy Patrol. I see your yellow, or lime green suit. I saw they were out yesterday as we were on the road. I saw them cleaning off one of the roads. I cannot tell you how many times I get good comments and feedback from the job that y'all do, so I wanted to stop and pass that along to you and be sure and let everybody know that. Next is Billy Danielle from District Court Grand Jury. Esmeralda Daza, Sheriff Confinement. R.J. Fautry, District Clerk. Rebecca Ferris, County Clerk. Jimmy Garcia, County Clerk. Sergio Garcia, Sheriff Confinement. Beverly Harrelson Thorpe, Sheriff Confinement. Preston Igori, Sheriff Confinement. Anna Jackson, Information Technology. Keisha Jackson, Sheriff Confinement. Natasha Jackson, Sheriff Confinement. Joseph Janicki, District Court Attorney Appointments. Amanda Lapham, Public Health. Robert Livingston, CSCD. Derek McKay, Sheriff Confinement. Richard Nutt, District Attorney's Office. Waylon Parks, Precinct 1, Maintenance. Fawn Q. Fawn, CSCD. Wayne Pollard, Housing Assistance. Lonnie Pruitt, Sheriff Confinement. Jennifer Rangel, Sheriff Confinement. Carlina Sanders, Sheriff Communications. Nettie Talbert, Sheriff Confinement. Carlton Tatro, District Clerk. Nancy Thurman, Juvenile Services. Lamone Todd, County Clerk. Nicholas Torres, Sheriff Confinement. Paula Wall, Sheriff Booking. Charles Whitebear, Sheriff Confinement. Joseph Williams, Juvenile Services. Philip Williams, Sheriff Confinement. And Tanya Young, Sheriff Confinement. That was a lot of 5-year employees. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Thank you all very much. Now for our 10-year employees. Catherine Anderson, District Attorney's Office. Daniel Blanco, Information Technology. John Briggs, Medical Examiner. Sonia Cisneros, Information Technology. Gene Cliff, Tax Office. William Eason, Precinct 2, Maintenance. Kenneth Johnson, Texas AgriLife Cooperative Extension. Alberto Medina, Medical Examiner. Cameron Wheat, Sheriff Confinement. And Larry Wilson, Human Resources. Let's give our 10-year employees a big round. Now for our 15-year employees. Linda Blair, the 352nd District Court. Johnny Bolden, Sheriff Confinement. Cornelius Carey, Juvenile Services. James Daniels, Sheriff Confinement. Elva Delagardo, Public Health. Sorry about that. Billy Heyman, Sheriff Confinement. Karen Lemons, Public Health. Kelly Loftus, District Attorney. Anna Moore, Sheriff Accounting. Russell Rojas, Sheriff Courts. Jeanette Stanley, Human Resources. And Greg Williams, CSCD. Let's give these 15-year employees. Now for our 20-plus years, again, I call and talk with each one of them. Our first 20-year employee is Sam Adamy from Public Health. Sam started in the public health area in the air control ozone program and still works in the poison control. Obviously, he's working with folks who have been poisoned, and he still works in this particular area. When I asked him about his more memorable moments, he talked about the problem they had at Burgers Lake, and you may remember that, where they actually had to shut down the lake, and they were out there at the same time they were, the owners were trying to correct the problem. They were out there testing to make sure the water was safe. When I asked him what he liked most, he said it was the people he's had a chance to work with, his co-workers, and then really the folks in the ozone reduction program. He said, I really enjoy interacting not only with my co-workers, but also with the public and helping them to get answers at a time when, they're facing some pretty serious problems. He indicated, I can't believe how fast the time's gone by. He said, I'm really glad to have had the job because it's allowed him to have time to be with his family as his kids were growing up. Sam, we appreciate very much the 20 years you've given us. Thank you. Next is Larry. Larry, you can sit down now. I scare these folks about sitting down, and so I sometimes have to get them to sit down. Next is Larry Ansley. He's been with the District Attorney's Office for 20 years. When I was talking with Larry, he said, I had worked, before I started with the DA's office, I worked at the city of Fort Worth for 24 years. He said, I retired on a Friday, went to Tim's Dove Hut over the weekend, and the next Monday started for the DA's office, and has been with the DA's office for now 20 years. Started in the misdemeanor area, then worked on some of the murder cases. Then he said he went to the grand jury area, and then ultimately, and now he's in the civil area. When I asked him about a more memorable bus, he said there's a lot of stuff, but he said if he told me, he'd have to kill me. And I believed him. He said that he was absolutely blown away by the amount of work that he's done since, I think he thought, okay, I'll come over in the civil area. It won't be quite as dramatic and quite as hard. He said, I can't believe the number of people who are out there trying to get money from the county. And I will tell you that we get a lot of folks who decide they want to, try to collect that little bit of free lunch from the county. And we've always taken the position that with good folks like Larry and them out there working the area, we're not giving a dime of the taxpayers' money away unless it's just absolutely warranted. He loves the people that he's had a chance to work with. He likes the attitude of the folks. Again, let's help people out. Likes the way the county takes care of its people and does everything it can to support them. And we hear that, and I'm proud, especially of that. He said, I really feel blessed to have had an opportunity to work for the county. And then he told me, I don't know if you know this or not, but my last official day with the county is going to be on October 31st. And Larry, we cannot tell you how much we appreciate not only the 20 years you have given to Tarrant County, but the over 44 years that you have given to public service and to trying to do what's right and make sure that folks do what's right in this area. And so we thank you very much for that public service. Next would have been Sherry Brown. She is with the 323rd District Court, but she's on vacation, and so she was going up to Alaska, and when I talked with her, it was 112 degrees, and she said, I'm not staying in this area when I can be up in the much cooler areas of Alaska, and I said, I don't blame you. Little did she know that we would have the heat wave break yesterday. So. Again, if you see Sherry when she gets back from vacation, congratulate her on the 20 years of service that she's given to Tarrant County. Next is Lisa Callahan with the District Attorney's Office, 20 years. There's Lisa. Started out in the DA's office as a misdemeanor attorney and then moved into the felony area. Has been in a lot of the district courts, has been in the two specialized crimes areas, one's against the gangs and homicide unit. When I asked her about the most memorable moments, she mentioned she was the attorney on the Opal Jennings case, as well as the capital murder case for child abuse and other ones that she's had. She also said, I remember one where a family just kind of erupted in the courtroom, and the judge was beating the gavel so hard that I believe it was Judge Young, was beating the gavel so hard that he actually dented the bench, trying, and I actually ended up having someone arrested as a result because he couldn't, because they wouldn't get under control. When I asked her what she liked most, she said it was the benefits, especially when you have kids, and it's hard enough to be working, let alone, knowing that you have a great employer who will take care and appreciate you. She also likes working for the DA's office, where the only thing that they ask of you is for you to do the right thing. And, I think that speaks volumes right there. And again, it's the whole attitude of, I believe, everybody in this county. She worked in Harris County before coming to Tarrant County. She said, I have really enjoyed the opportunity that I had working for Tim Curry and now for Joe Shannon. And Lisa, we want to tell you how much we appreciate the work you've done for Tarrant County. Thank you. Next is, was to be Mark Canales with the sheriff in the courts area, but he was celebrating 20 years, but he's also on vacation this week. And so when you talk with him, be sure and congratulate him on the 20 years of service that he's given to Tarrant County. Next is Tommy Darhart with Juvenile Services. Started out working in Juvenile Services from TCU. Another of the folks, you remember a couple of months ago, we talked about the fact that we had somebody, Jerry Wood, who used to be the head of our Juvenile Services, was down and would teach courses at TCU. Well, Tommy's another one of those folks who took the class and who started as an intern, then actually did some part-time work, I guess your senior year, and then at the time that he graduated, he joined the department, started off as a detention officer. In 1992, he became a field officer, and then in 96 became a supervisor in the southeast area. When I asked him about his more memorable moments, he said that he remembered when he first started, he was young, right out of college, that on Fridays the TYC would send a bus to pick up folks that they were going to be transporting to TYC. And he said, I was there, I was at the front of the line, kind of making sure everybody stayed in line. And he said the TYC officer came in and tried to get him on the bus. And he had to, he had to get some of the people to help to tell this guy, no, he's not going. He's one of us. When I asked him what he liked most, he said it was the folks that he'd had a chance to meet, not only here, but also really all around the state. And it was the way that the county takes care of their people and gives them the tools to do their job. He said, it's been a great experience in my life to have had a chance to work with Tarrant County. Tommy, we appreciate very much the 20 years you've given us. Next is Peggy Dunlap, Constable, Precinct 6. There's Peggy. Celebrating, she's another one of these that's been with us almost 23 years. Started with us, then left for about 2.5 years, and then came back. Started in and really has been in Constable Precinct 6 for the entire time. She's the administrative assistant there. She said, I just love helping people, enjoy the benefits, love the opportunity to have the weekends off. She said the county has been extremely good and has been a great place to work. And she said, I hope I'm here for many more years. And Peggy, we hope you're here that many more years also. Thank you for the 20 years that you've given us. Next is Debbie Edwards with CDC number 3. Has been with us now for 20 years. She worked in CDC 10 for 19 years before moving. She said she started out with Judge Gilfeather as a court reporter, and after 19 years, she moved over to CDC number 3. When I asked her about the more memorable moments, she said there was a big criminal trespass case that had 21 different defendants. They had 4 juries, and they heard all of the cases at the same time. There were 4 different courtrooms going on at the same time. One. So it was a big case. When I asked her what she liked most, it was the support of the county, the family atmosphere with the court staff as well as with the attorneys, and that she really felt appreciated. She's always felt like that the county and that the folks appreciated the job that she did. Feels like she's been blessed to be able to work with 3 judges that she's worked with and plans to work until she can. Debbie, we appreciate very much the 20 years you've given us. Thank you. Next is Emma Emmett, 20 years, and she's with JP number 4. Started in the probation area, interviewing folks when they first got out of jail, I guess, and acted as a rover for CSCD until 2000, then moved over to JP Precinct 4 and is now the clerk for JP 4. When I asked her about the more memorable moments, remember, she's interviewing folks as they get out of jail. And she remembers interviewing a woman, and it was in the dead of winter, who was wearing shorts, no shoes, and a short-sleeved shirt, because when she was arrested, it was back in the height of the summer, and that's what she was wearing. So, she said that lady was in for a big shock when she walked out those doors. When I asked her what she liked most, she said she really felt like she was needed and that's something that's always stayed with her. She loves the benefits, and she cannot believe how fast the time has gone by. Emma, we appreciate very much the 20 years you've given us and hope you'll give us many more. Next is Gary Foreman, Sheriff Confinement for 20 years. Started in the Sheriff's Office in 1990 and left for 6 months in 97 and then came back. First started working, I guess, at the Cold Springs unit, and then when he came back, he worked for a month at Belknap and then has been at Green Bay ever since. He said, I really love working with his fellow officers and the team atmosphere that is exhibited and that we all have out there. He said, I've enjoyed the past 20 years and I hope that I have many more years to come. And I tell you what, Gary, we hope so too. And thank you very much for the 20 years you've given us. Next is Tony Freeman, CCC number 9, 20 years. Started in CCC number 9 as the court reporter and has been there since it opened with Judge Carr. As has all your folks. I mean, you just celebrated, I guess, the 20 years just recently. And she said, we're just a big family. She said, I remember when we first started, I was actually typing on, it was a typewriter, it was paper, and it had that carbon. And she said, we've come a long way since then. She loves the benefits, loves the folks that she's had a chance to work with. She said, we really are one big happy family. Has no plans to retire. She said, I'm having too much fun. She's watched everyone's family, as they all have in that particular court as the families have grown up. Tony, we appreciate very much the 20 years you've given us. Thank you. Next is Christy Jack with the District Attorney's Office, who's celebrating 20 years. Now, I talked with Christy a little over a week ago. She was excited about being here. She started in the DA's office as a misdemeanor attorney and then moved to the felony, and she's now the chief of CDC number 3. She is the one who tried the windshield case. And she said, it was just terrible, and she said, it's one that will always stick with me. When I asked her what she liked most, it was the loyalty to the office and the county that all the people had. She said, I've loved working with the people, the folks that she's had a chance to deal with over time. She said, I really feel like that I've been blessed to have had an opportunity to do this, because she said, I really feel like this was my place in life. She said, this is what I was destined to do. She works in a lot of the crimes against children. And, I mean, she is a alligator when it comes to those folks. She gets after them, and she just doesn't give up. She said, I cannot believe how quickly the time has flown by. Now, the reason that she isn't here today is because between the time that we talked and today, she was appointed by the governor to a board that oversees the management of violent sex offenders, and its first meeting was this morning. So while she was very excited and disappointed that she wasn't able to come to this, she was also very excited about being able to work on a statewide effort, again, in something that I think she sees as really her purpose in life. So as you see Christy, celebrate with her and congratulate her on the 20 years of service that she's given to Tarrant County. Next is Patty Melody, the tax office, 20 years. There's Patty. Started out in the tax office in the motor vehicle in the downtown area, still in that area, but she's now in the South Lake facility. When I asked her about the more memorable moments, she said, quite honestly, it was being at work on 9/11 and just the whole feelings and emotions that went on that day. She said also when Betsy got reelected, she said she had served with Betsy when she was actually a customer when Betsy would come in and would be, on the customer side of that deal. She said, I've had an opportunity to see 3 different tax assessors, and I've enjoyed working for all 3. When I asked her what she liked most, she said, I really loved it all. She said, I can't think of anything about the job that I have not liked and not enjoyed doing. She said the time has gone by very, very quickly. Came here from McLennan County and is real glad that she did. And Patty, we're very glad that you came here, and we want to thank you for the 20 years that you've given to Tarrant County. Next is Mark Ortega, Constable Precinct 6, 20 years. Mark. Started in the Sheriff's Department with Don Carpenter in the old Belknap unit, then moved to patrol, and then to the Constable's office in 2004, and then promoted to Chief in 2007. When I asked him about the more memorable moments, he said the promotion to Chief was something that meant a lot to him and that he would always remember. He loves the camaraderie of the office, that people all over the county and how friendly they are and how much they really enjoy helping folks. He said that, I have to admit that the time has gone by just like that, and can't believe how quickly the 20 years have gone by. Mark, we appreciate very much the 20 years you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you. Next is Ronnie Sutton, Public Health, 20 years. Ronnie?
Yay, Ronnie.
Started in the city of Fort Worth and then moved to Tarrant County. Is the administrative assistant in environmental health working for David Jefferson. When I asked her about the more memorable moment, she said it was the transition. She actually came to work for Tarrant County before we had the transition with Fort Worth Public Health coming into Tarrant County. But that was still one of her memorable moments, or the most memorable moment was when that happened. She had already been here, but again, it was something that stuck in her mind. When I asked her what she liked most, she said, likes the way we're physically responsible and that we take care of our people, that our attitude towards people's health, and that public health is absolutely a fantastic place to work. And she said, like many others, she said, I cannot believe how fast these 20 years have flown by. Ronnie, we appreciate very much the 20 years you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you. Next is Ann Wynn, Information Technology, 20 years. Let's see, Ann started in the tax office and moved to IT in 2003 when the IT was consolidated, and she now works on database administration. More memorable moments for Ann were the Y2K, the conversion. And she said it converted her from a bean counter to a geek. I had a little bit of problem with that, but that's okay. It was just the bean counter to the geek, I think, that was the issue there. Why should everyone have left
Judge,
a bean counter? Yeah, okay. When I asked her what she liked most, it was the interaction with the taxpayers and helping folks understand how county government works. When you see Ann, thank her for the 20 years that she's given to Tarrant County. Next is Anthony Garner, Constable Precinct 8. Wasn't sure he was going to be able to make it. Started and spent his entire time in the constable's office. He said, I've really kind of watched my family grow up here, and he's really enjoyed his time with the county. He's celebrating 25 years. So when you see Anthony, be sure and congratulate him on 25 years of service. Next is Nancy Spear, Public Health, 25 years. There's Nancy. Is an LVN and started in the healthcare in the hospital in Houston area. Moved to this area, and after a while went into public health in the tuberculosis area. Then went to children's health and is now an LVN in that particular area. When I asked her what she liked most, there's one of them civil crimes going right there. I'm telling you, he's after somebody. She said everything's kind of a blur. And what she said is everything is always changing. And that's the thing about that she remembers and that she enjoys. When I asked her what she liked most, she said, I love taking care of people and helping them to learn about public health. I like the people that she's had a chance to work with and the benefits that the county has to offer. And she said, these 25 years have just absolutely streamed by. Nancy, we want to thank you for the 25 years that you've given to Tarrant County. Next is Tom Haythorne, the Sheriff's North Patrol, 30 years of service. Tom started out in the Sheriff's Department as a reservist in 1979 and then moved to full-time in patrol in 1981. Spent time in the fugitive, narcotics, internal affairs, and at the academy, and then back to patrol in 2004. When I asked him about his more memorable moments, he said, as I look back over, I have many, many fond memories of working at Tarrant County. He said, I'm very thankful to the county for giving him the opportunity that he has. He said, I have friends really for all across the state from having had an opportunity to get here. And he said the county really takes care of its people. Tom, it's people like you who make Tarrant County what it is, and we cannot tell you how much we appreciate the 30 years that you've given us. Folks, that's 750 years of service that you folks have given, and we thank you very, very much for all of it. We have refreshments in 504C. Thank you again, and we'll recess for just a couple of minutes while you all head that direction. Do we have anybody around there? I can't see. This is one of the better views I've got of this side of the room.
Me too, Steve. It works both ways, Your Honor.
Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes. Here, get up here unanimously.
Well, the scenery just changed for you.
Yeah, I know.
It's a brighter day.
Motion passes unanimously.
Absolutely.
Mr. Manion?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have 3 items for you this morning. The first one concerns the redistricting of justice precincts. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the preliminary illustrative map concerning the redistricting of justice precincts and call a public hearing for Tuesday, September 20th, 2011 at 10 a.m. in the Commissioners Courtroom. This is the map that we're talking about. We've been meeting with the JPs and constables, and I might mention a couple of things. First of all, unlike Commissioners precincts, on the redistricting of JP precincts, that does not require a one-man, one-vote. So you don't necessarily have to try to equalize the population aspect. What you do, you either redistrict because of either workload measures or if you want to ensure that there are community of interest that stay together. And I want to point out just a few of the changes that were made. By the way, there is a consensus with all the justices of the case as it relates to this particular map. If I could just point these out, start over on the eastern side. This is a particular area that you'll see this here. That was part of precinct 2. It moves into precinct 3. What we tried to do was square it up on the city limits aspect. Under precinct 8, Judge Woodard was looking to expand her jurisdiction to increase her workload. We went ahead and we brought this over. This was something that was in precinct 1 that was given up. Precinct 8 takes that in now. Also, there's a few areas, 2 precinct boxes here that Judge Woodard had requested that she receive, and JP 6 obliged her on that particular item. On precinct 1 and precinct 3, you see that what used to be precinct 3 here and up here is moved over to precinct 1. This, in a certain way, helps balance out the addition of this to precinct 3. Both of these. Precincts 4, precinct 5, and precinct 7 remain the same. So those are the changes that we're recommending. This is a preliminary map, and it's not something that you'll be asked to take a final vote on today. We would like for you to vote on this map as a preliminary illustrative map and also to set that public hearing.
So move.
Second.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second. Go ahead.
At least one comment. I'm glad that the JPs and constables have agreed upon a map. However, I have been approached by several community groups who are also preparing a map. And in spite of my best efforts to find out what the process was going to be for receiving these maps, I've never been told anything. So we are now being asked to set a public hearing at which these community groups can present their maps, and we're being asked to set that public hearing at 10 o'clock in the morning on a work day.
That's correct.
I don't think that works very well for community input. We didn't do that for the Commissioners Court redistricting maps, and I don't think we should do it in this case either.
Let me answer your first question, Commissioner. The process that we're using for the JP redistricting is the same process that this court passed as it relates to the Commissioner's Court, and which is that individuals who would like to submit an alternate map need to go ahead and submit that to the Commissioner's Court through our office, and then we will factor that in and bring that to the court. We talked with Bob Heath out of Bickerstaff and talked about when would be the most appropriate time to have a public hearing. His comments were that we could hold it in Commissioner's Court simply because this is not something that it's a one-person, one-vote issue. This is something that the court can do, and in fact, the court doesn't have to redistrict at any particular time on JPs, but it's more of workloads and communities of interest, that particular area. Now, when we did put this map together, and there were different discussions as related to that, we needed to make sure that when we got to Precinct 5 and Precinct 8, that we didn't disenfranchise the incumbents. And so that's why there's just some minimum changes, because we wanted to keep that makeup of those precincts pretty close to what they are now. So our schedule was to hold it on a Tuesday. We can hold that on a Tuesday evening. We can hold it on a Wednesday, whatever the court desires.
I don't care whether it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I would just like to see it in the evening so that there can be maximum input from those parties from the community who are interested in having that input.
Well, you do have a motion on the floor. If you would like to change that to that Tuesday evening, we can accommodate that.
I would offer a substitute motion that the hearing be set for, Tuesday, September 20th?
That's correct.
At 7 o'clock in the evening.
I will second that.
Well, no, wait a minute. Who was the, okay, so who were the original first and second?
He made a substitute.
Okay.
Need a substitute.
So we have a substitute motion. Let's first vote on that. All those in favor of a substitute motion that would have the public hearing held on September the 20th at 7?
7.
Please vote.
Well, wait, can I have a discussion, just a
Sure.
question?
Just jump right in there.
Is it at that time they bring their map in, or is it prior to that time?
They can bring it in at that time, or they can bring it in prior to that, and they can submit it to our
That's
office.
one of the questions that I never got an answer to.
Okay. If I remember correctly, that when you bring in that map, you bring a map for the whole county,
That's correct.
correct?
That's correct.
For all the precincts.
That's correct.
So that's still the rule?
Yes, it is.
And it would affect, obviously, both the constables and the JP.
Right. What the court does, they redistrict the JP precincts, and the constable's precinct are identical to the JP precincts.
But I also think that, they can they could come in and say, we want to switch these precincts between the two precincts, and everything else would stay the same.
That's correct.
Without having to go through that process. Again, though, I hope that one of the things that whoever submits any alternative plans remembers is that this is done more as a result of workload than it is based upon populations.
That's correct.
But I guess what you're saying, and it would be better if they could submit prior to that. If they bring that in on the 20th, then we will, depending upon what those maps look like, the court is not, again, required to take any action.
It's a public hearing issue at that time. And we're not asking for the court to take any action. It's simply to hold that public hearing. Once we receive that input, and we will come back with the various maps, and we will go ahead and ask the court to approve at that point.
However, we do need to, if we're going to change anything, we do need to get it done in time for the constable elections, which occur next year.
That's correct.
And the filing for election, which begins on November the 12th.
Right.
Well, our goal is to have this entire redistricting process completed by the 1st of October, first part of October.
I would just point out one more thing. Yes, they are not one person, one vote offices. Yes, we do redistrict for workload measures and other reasons, and among those other reasons are compliance with the Voting Rights Act,
That's correct.
creating districts for underrepresented population groups where those districts might be created. So let's not leave that out of the equation because it's an important part of our considerations about drawing these lines.
And Commissioner, like I said, I believe that Precinct 5 and Precinct 8, which are minority precincts, we have kept them intact so that it didn't dilute that voting strength.
I appreciate that, but there may be an opportunity to draw others.
Sure. If the court knows anyone who wants to submit a plan, simply have them submit it to our office.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. So the hearing will be 7 p.m., September 20th, in this courtroom.
Could I ask a point of personal privilege?
Sure.
Miss Deputy Anthony Gardner, who was on your 25-year list, made it into the room. So I'd like for Anthony to stand and at least let people see his face. Thank you, Your Honor.
You bet. Thank you for being here today.
Members of the court, if we could go to item number 2, we're requesting that the court approve the use of the Family Courts Building Assembly Room by the Tarrant County Democratic Party on Tuesday, September 20th from 6:30 to 8:30.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, we could go to item number 3. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court rescind Court Order 110801, which relates to the Commissioners Court award of RFP number 2011-107 to EMC, and cancel that RFP.
What are we going to do next? Is there any?
As far as moving forward?
Yes, sir.
That is still under
on that yet?
no, we have not decided on that, but we've discussed this RFP, and we believe that it's in the best interest of the county to rescind this RFP.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I've got a problem with rescinding it without a plan.
Our goal currently is to simply.
Are we going to rebid it?
Well, not initially, Commissioner. What we're going to do, we're actually going to go ahead and buy maintenance on it because the system is still usable, and we're going to probably do that for a 3 to 6 month period, and then bring another recommendation back to Commissioners Court.
Would you clarify, are you buying maintenance off of the DIR contract?
I don't know the answer to that, but in all likelihood, yes.
What I would like to see
Which is the way that we have always bought maintenance as it relates to this particular item. We've always bought it off of DIR.
This is not the opinion of the court. This is my personal opinion. I would like to recommend that we rewrite the spec of that RFP to make it more generic, and if we need help from an outside professional consultant, then we should do so. And at the same time, we should retain that service. for that company to also look at ways that we can basically extend our building opportunities to the public without jeopardizing the proprietary nature of and the reliability of our technologies as well. But that is just my personal recommendation.
Understand, Commissioner.
And I guess at this point in time, I'm not sure whether we need to, I think we need to rescind this. Just as you have indicated, I think we need to look at bringing someone in to review the overall deal, but I'm not convinced and not sure that we should reissue this RFP and that we shouldn't just buy off the state contract in the first place. Maybe we should have in the first place. But right now, the motion that's in front of us is whether we're going to rescind the contract or not. Is there any more discussion regarding that? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Rayburn.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have 5 elections items for your consideration this morning. The first is additional appointments of election judges and alternate election judges. We were here several weeks ago with a number of nominations from the parties. Today we have 13 additional names to replace some people who declined the initial appointments. I did notice on the court communication there's an erroneous date there. The term ending date is July 31st, 2012.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The second item is to approve the list of early voting sites for the November 8th election, 36 full-time early voting sites and 8 temporary sites that will be funded by Mansfield ISD.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The third item is approval of a number of Election Day polling location changes. We have a number of sites that are not available for various reasons, some that we're going back to that were unavailable in the last election. The only proactive changes that we're making is that we've been trying to get out of fire stations for a while. So we're replacing 5 fire stations, mainly the ones where the voters have to vote in the Bay area. And back in the June election runoffs where it was over 100 degrees, it was really hard on our election workers. Fire stations don't typically have a lot of parking either. They're cold in the winter, hot in the summer. So we're trying to find some replacements for those.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The fourth item is proposed precinct combinations for the November 8th election. This does not change any voter's polling place. All this does is to clarify that at locations where we have multiple precincts, we have one set of election judges, one set of voting equipment, rather than the voting being separated by precinct at those locations.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our last item is we are requesting approval to purchase 100 used voting machines from Hart InterCivic for early voting in 2012. Hart does not usually have used equipment available, and we're expecting a high turnout in next year's elections. In 2008, we were really close to using all of our early voting equipment. We have such a high early voting turnout these days, especially in presidential elections. In 2008, I think 74% of our total turnout came from early voting. So this gives us a cushion of additional equipment in next year's elections. And this is funding from HAVA, Help America Vote Act grant funding.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions?
Does this positively affect our situation that we've been discussing on the primary runoff?
It will assist us in the elections next May, simply because the 2 early voting periods are so close together. It will assist us in the transition from one to the other.
technically give you another 100 machines on top of the approximately 250 that you had available for the primary runoff. in
Well,
late May.
these machines are for early voting. You know, the problem that we had with the May election was for really election day voting.
Okay.
What about storage?
We do have sufficient storage to store the e-slates. They don't take up a lot of room like the e-scans do.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We only have one item for the court this morning. We're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Ms. Brewer, Public Health.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Public Health has 4 items for your approval this morning. The first 2 items are Advanced Practice Center items. The first one is approval of a contract with CH2M Hill Incorporated for Public Health Advanced Practice Center to provide public health consulting services on water quality surveillance data. And I'll just mention that the Advanced Practice Center is responsible for developing and maintaining our regional surveillance system.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The second item is approval of letter of intent with the RTI Research Triangle Institute International for the Public Health Department's Advanced Practice Center to work as a subcontractor for the BioSense 2 pilot implementation program.
Move for approval.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Would you describe that program, please, ma'am?
Yes, and I'll be happy.
BioSense
I would
2.
like to have the program manager, Bill Stevens, come up and describe it to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. The BioSense program is a CDC program, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, that's been actually underway since shortly after the anthrax scare in 2001 in September and October of that year. That system was developed to monitor syndromic surveillance across the nation, and they started working with us in about 2005, 2006. What we've done is provided the hospital ED data that we use in our own system here regionally as part of the CDC system. In 2009, it was decided that they were going to redesign that to make it more user-friendly and to incorporate a lot of other functions and to actually to provide a lot more service and support to the stakeholders in the field, namely the public health people and the healthcare people that actually provide the data for this system as well, so that they could get this information back and to analyze it in their own jurisdictions. So we did a pretty good job, according to what the CDC decided, on phase 1, and so they wanted to come back to us on phase 2 to actually do a pilot implementation and actually to develop a model that they can use for rollout across the nation then. And so there's actually quite a bit of visibility and sort of a spotlight that Tarrant County Public Health will get as a result of this work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our third item is approval to submit to the Department of State Health Services targeted HIV testing and linkage to medical care grant application for fiscal year 2012.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our fourth item is approval of a Texas Department of State Health Services grant contract for the influenza incident surveillance project.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
What kind of influenza are we anticipating this year?
Pretty
What's
much.
the best
We have our
guess?
chief epi in the audience, but pretty much the same as last year, I believe. And the shot has the H1N1 in it.
Okay.
You want to add anything? This is Dr. Anita Kurian, our chief epidemiologist.
Dr. Curry. Good morning.
I just wanted to add, and this is a question we get asked every time we talk about influenza, and just want to point out, the only thing that we can say with surety is that influenza virus is unpredictable, is going to be unpredictable. So, but from what we've seen in the Southern Hemisphere, it's going to be same as what we saw in the past year. So, just want to take this opportunity also to point out again, the flu vaccine is out, has the same components as last year's vaccine. That does not mean you don't have to take it this year. You still have to take those vaccines this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Beecham. What high school team did your boys play this week?
One of the stronger teams in the same conference that TCU's in this week, New Mexico State.
Obviously, somebody doesn't think that's much. I mean, you didn't play like the number 3 team in the country.
Do you have a hat?
I have several hats.
Nobody told me it was Ugly Hat Day, but
No, I don't have the real ugly one. The one with the hog on the front of it.
I thought that minister might drop y'all some divine intervention because the next team y'all play may not give you 4 touchdowns.
Hey, look, we won with our quarterback in jail, so I mean, you know.
How about that?
Helen Geis's daughter, the captain from the Air Force that presented the flag to us last week, I don't know if you realize, is stationed at Little Rock Air Force Base. And she
We
asked
all
me,
have our crosses to
she
bear.
asked me last week if y'all's quarterback was going to co-star with Burt Reynolds in the remake of The Longest Yard.
I think he's heading that way.
We do have 7 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for RFP number 2011-103. This is an RFP for clinical polygraph services for CSCD. Our recommendation would be to award for the contract terms, awarding to the 2 vendors as shown in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item is another bid award recommendation for RFP number 2011-104 for psychological, psychiatric, psychosexual evaluations for CSCD. Recommendation would be to award per the contract terms, awarding to the 2 vendors as shown in sections 1 and 2 of your court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 3 is another bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-125. This is our annual contract for the rental of bobtail trucks, which are used primarily for elections administration. That recommendation would be to award on a per enterprise basis, awarding to CAPS, vans, and rentals. Last year's expenditure was a little over $57,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 4 is another bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-129. This is our annual contract for printed forms, again for elections administration. That recommendation would be to award a per enterprise basis, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in your court communique.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 5 is another bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-132. This is our annual contract for lawn maintenance as utilized by facilities management. Recommendation would be to award a per enterprise basis, awarding to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors as shown in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 6 is an item in regards to, we're asking for approval of the exemption to the competitive bid requirements is allowed under Section 262 024A2 in Vernon's Texas codes. This is for the purchase of drug standards and controls for the medical examiner's toxicology lab and crime laboratory. Expenditures are estimated to be approximately $135,000.
These are reagents for testing
Yes, sir.
purposes. Move approval.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, is this like a single source vendor that, or supplier?
Most of these items are available on certain contracts, state contracts, but they have to have certain standards to meet those test requirements. We've done the same thing with the health department. We've identified those items. This is the second year we've attempted this. It's worked very well for them.
Okay. So are they buying off state contracts? Is that what they're doing?
In some items where they can, but all of the items aren't available in one particular contract. On a state contract, they're not always awarding a specific chemical, a reagent, and both of those type of items have to be standard to meet those test requirements.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 7, our last item, is an item in regards to bid number 2011-135. This is an annual contract for lumber and building materials. We actually received 3 bids on this particular contract. One company had minimum order requirements. The other 2 had partial responses. We can't cover our requirements collectively amongst the 3. Even if we recommended not allowing or disallowing the minimum order requirements, so we're asking permission to reject all bids and rebid with revised specifications.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Green.
Your Honor, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the resolution in order to sell a permanent pipeline easement and adjoining temporary construction easement across Tarrant County property at the Charles Griffin Sub-Courthouse at 3500 Miller Street to Texas Midstream Gas Pipeline Company and sign the resolution and pipeline easement agreement. We are in receipt of a $20,000 check for this acquisition.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item, we're requesting the Commissioners Court approve a resolution and order declaring a public necessity for a public project known as the Retta Mansfield Road, which is County Road 2062 from Bennett Lawson to Remington Road. Approve the preliminary plans thereto and approve acquisition and payment of compensation.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Any appointments? Being none, then you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius.
Your Honor, we do not have any items for the court this morning.
Okay, then at this time we will recess our open meeting and move to closed meeting to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072.
This is going to be entertaining.
Is it on? Having returned from closed session and there being no business transacted at this time, we are adjourned.
Works for me. He has not come running yet. I'm surprised.